two questions have been posed to us. One is basically, why is parity important? And I will not answer that question. In 2016, I don't think we can discuss this seriously as to why this is important. It's obvious. It's unbelievable that one would still have to give arguments as to why gender parity is important, including in international organizations. So I will not entertain that question at all. I'd like to focus on the second question, which is also much more action-oriented, because we need to come up with ways of achieving that goal. And here, I think the reason why I was invited was to maybe highlight one best practice from the International Criminal Court. And the International Criminal Court was mentioned before. It has in the Rome Statute a pledge for balance in gender representation. And it also has a very specific system designed to encourage gender representation. And so I was very involved in negotiating these rules. And so I was a little bit upset when I read in this paper this implication that it's actually not working well. And I'd like to briefly explain how the system works and explain why I think it actually works very well. And if you can come up with a better system, I would be delighted to hear that. So as you have read and as you've heard before, the ICC has, at the moment, out of 18 judges, 6 female, 12 male. And the reason why it is so at the moment is in front of you. I hope all of you have received this paper that I have circulated. This is the ballot paper of the first round of election from the last election in 2014. And you will notice, and actually I gave them all away, I have none left for me. You will notice on the top right, thank you very much, that it says, this is an instruction to states parties casting a ballot. It says, vote for at least 2 List B candidates and vote for at least 1 male candidate. If I can translate that into other words, the system of trying to achieve gender parity at the on the ICC bench had been so successful over the previous years that women had been so overrepresented that we had to apply affirmative action for men at the last election. And this is why the pendulum swung back. But I think and I would certainly say that parity, the notion of parity is not about one particular point in time when it comes to representation at the international level. It's parity over time. And we have actually, I think, never had a situation of 9 female and 9 male judges. For the most part of the time, women have been overrepresented at the ICC. And so this system is designed to, over time, have a roughly equal representation of men and women. So the question is, how did we do this? And the answer to that question is, again, on that ballot paper. The system is actually quite complicated, but once applied, and once you look at the ballot paper, it's relatively simple. We look at how representation is on the bench of judges. Gender, but also regions. And also, there are 2 types of expertise that are required. So we look at how the bench looks like. We roughly look at, following very specific rules, we roughly look at what criteria are underrepresented. And then we instruct states parties voting to vote for at least a certain minimum number of men, if men are underrepresented, or to vote for a minimum number of women, if women are underrepresented, or to vote for a minimum number of candidates from a certain region if that region is underrepresented. That system has the effect of not guaranteeing that these regions or these genders will then be successful in the election, but it makes it much more likely. And another effect of this system is that it is an incentive for states parties to put forward candidates that fulfill the underrepresented criterion. If women are underrepresented, states usually want to win elections. They are much more likely to put forward female candidates. And so this is what we have been doing, and I think we have been doing it quite well over time. There is, I think, one negative aspect to this, namely that the system is rather complicated. But that is to some extent a bit unique to the ICC because we have 3 criteria that we need to look at. We need to look at gender, we need to look at regions, and we also need to look at these 2 types of expertise that are required. So that makes the ballot paper a bit more complicated. But I think overall this has been a very, very successful model, a completely new model that I would hope we can also apply elsewhere. And I will end on a final, also positive note. Again, you have to look at this over time. At the ICC, if you have currently 6 women and 12 men, those 6 women are the most senior judges on the bench. Do you know the gender balance in the presidency of the ICC? The 3 most senior judges, 1 president, 2 vice presidents. Their gender, female, female, female. A completely female presidency of the International Criminal Court. And I think that's something we can be very proud of and something that we can replicate, I think, hopefully also in other institutions. Thank you.